The air is thick, like it's holding onto something ancient. You take a step forward. The torch in your hand flickers and suddenly shadows leap across the walls. They're etched into stone or animals frozen in time. Bison, horses, antelope captured mid-run, mid-jump, mid-life. And beside them a handprint, pressed into the rock by someone who lived when mammoths still roamed the earth. This isn't just primitive art. This is a message. A message from the edge of time left behind by people who lived in a world of danger, wonder, and survival. What were they trying to say? Why paint scenes of wild beauty and brutal violence? Today we're unraveling the mystery of ancient rock art, and I promise by the end of this, you'll never look at our ancestors the same way again. Because this isn't just decoration, this is humanity's first story. A spark of imagination etched in stone. A mark that says, we were here, we saw, we felt, we remembered. From the dark caves of France to the sunlit cliffs of Indonesia, these paintings tell stories of hunts and beliefs, fears and triumphs. But the deeper you look, the more you realize they're not just images. They're reflections of who we are and who we've always been. Let's rewind, back to where it all might have begun. Blombos Cave, South Africa. About 100,000 years ago, inside archaeologists uncovered something remarkable: ochre stones with scratch patterns, cross-hatched designs, not random marks. Alongside them, tiny perforated shells likely worn as necklaces and bone tools used to mix pigments. This was more than survival gear. It was a toolkit for expression, for meaning. These are signs of symbolic thinking, of imagination, the very thing that separates us from every other creature on Earth. And to me, that's revolutionary. This wasn't just about survival. These people were saying we can dream of more. Like a kid drawing for the first time, trying to capture the world in a way no one else has. They weren't just surviving, they were imagining. But here's the twist: we weren't alone in this. In caves across Spain, scientists found markings that are at least 64,000 years old. That's before Homo sapiens arrived there. So who made them? Neanderthals. Yeah, those guys. The ones we used to think were all brawn, no brain. Turns out they were artists too. They left behind stencils of hands, strange symbols, and painted patterns, proof they shared that same human spark. This changes everything, because it means art imagination wasn't just our thing, it was humanity's thing, a shared trait that burned across species, a common language written in pigment and stone. And I'll be honest, I find that deeply humbling, because creating something isn't about proving you're better. It's about connecting across time, across space, across species. When I learned about Neanderthal art, it hit me hard. Here I am trying to write a script that brings the past to life. And 60,000 years ago, someone else sat in a cave painting by torchlight, trying to do the same. That's powerful. So let's travel now 7,000 miles east to Sulawesi, Indonesia. On ancient limestone cliffs, we find 45,000-year-old paintings of wild pigs and human hand stencils. Across the ocean, and in Australia's Kimberley region, vivid figures leap across rock faces. They're tens of thousands of years old, maybe more. And here's what's wild: no matter where you go, Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, early humans painted the same thing. Animals, majestic, powerful, dangerous creatures, deer lions, reindeer mammoths, not cartoons. Realistic, muscular, accurate. Why? Because animals were life. They were food, they were danger, they were mystery. Painting them wasn't just a hobby. It was a way of understanding the world, of saying, this is what matters. This is what we fear. This is what we honor. To draw them with such skill that took observation and patience practice. These weren't random doodles. These were focused studies, like the work of scientists or poets. It shows that even 40,000 years ago, humans weren't just reacting to their world. They were thinking deeply about it, trying to make sense of it, trying to explain it. And honestly, that hasn't changed. Think about it next time you're stuck trying to solve something, trying to express yourself. Remember, ancient artists sat in cold caves mixing pigments by firelight, trying to capture the perfect curve of a bison's horn. They didn't quit, neither should you. But not all cave art is beautiful or peaceful. Some of it is downright unsettling. Let's go to Pecmo, France. Famous for its stunning spotted horses, but tucked away in a darker corner is something else. A human figure lying face down, stick-like but pierced by multiple spears. Above it, a strange shape, maybe a bird, maybe a symbol we don't know. What does this mean? Is this a murder, a sacrifice, a story, a warning? It feels tense, deliberate. The spears are precise. This isn't an accident, it's a narrative. Some experts think it's a literal memory, someone was killed. Others believe it's symbolic, a ritual myth, a piece of sacred lore. Personally, I think it's both. Because humans process pain through stories. We always have. Something traumatic happens, we tell it, retell it, add layers. Meaning, purpose. This image feels like that. A way to say, this happened, this hurt, this must not be forgotten. Now jump to another cave, Cognac. Here we see more violence. A human figure, maybe part deer, is hit by 3 spears. Nearby, another body, arms splayed, pierced all over. This isn't just expression, it's documentation, intention. Why would they paint this? Maybe it was a warning like ancient graffiti, cross us and this is what happens. Or maybe it was a record like a Stone Age newspaper, preserving a story of triumph or tragedy. Still sound primitive. Let me bring it closer. In 2018, I read about a small community in Papua New Guinea. Tribal tensions boiled over a fight over land. One group attacked another. Afterward, they carved symbols into nearby trees, marking victory. A statement, a threat. Sound familiar? It's not so different from those ancient paintings. The medium changed, trees instead of stone, but the message the same. This happened, remember it. These cave scenes shatter the myth of the peaceful ancient human. Life wasn't always harmony. It was tough. It was brutal. Most bands were tiny, 15, maybe 30 people, spread thin across huge landscapes. Danger was constant. Resources were scarce. Modern studies show that in small, close-knit hunter-gatherer groups, most murders come from personal disputes, jealousy, betrayal, revenge. Sound familiar? People haven't changed much, just the weapons and the canvas, painting these violent scenes. That was a way to record it. Mourn it, warn others, maybe even heal. It's a reminder that art wasn't for decoration, it was for survival. Let's imagine a moment together. A Paleolithic camp, maybe 20 people gathered near a quiet river. Night falls. There's been tension all day. 2 hunters argued about meat distribution. One accuses the other of hoarding a piece of mammoth. Words fly, a shove, then spears, and by morning one man is dead. What happens next? They don't just move on, they paint it. On the cave wall in charcoal and ochre, they recreate the scene. One figure standing, one fallen, spears in his back. Why not just to record, but to remember, to teach, to warn? This is the power of ancient art. It turns chaos into meaning. But conflict wasn't the only fear they faced. Nature itself could be terrifying. In the Lascaux caves of France, among the most famous cave paintings ever found, there's a strange and haunting image called the well scene. In it, a man lies on the ground, possibly dead. His head looks like a bird. Above him, a large wounded bison looms, its insides spilling out. Near the man, a staff topped with a bird. It's eerie and totally mysterious. Was it a real hunt gone wrong? A vision, a spiritual message? We may never know, but here's what we do know. It's not heroic, it's tragic. The bison is hurt, but it's still standing. The man is down. This isn't a victory lap. This is a warning: nature doesn't play fair, and it doesn't always lose. I remember a story my friend Mike told me. He's a seasoned hunter, grew up in the Rockies. One year he tracked a deer through thick brush, took the shot, wounded it. But instead of running, the deer charged him, knocked him flat. He got a few bruises, nothing serious, but the look on his face when he told the story, pure humility. Nature doesn't care about your weapons or your experience. It's wild, unpredictable, and sometimes it fights back. I think the artist at Lascaux knew that feeling. I think he painted not just what he saw, but what he felt, that sharp realization that even the hunter is vulnerable, that even the strong can fall. You see the same raw emotion in the artwork from Rouffignac Cave. There's a carving of a person fleeing a charging animal, possibly a bison. The figure's arms are raised, legs in motion, panic, tension, all captured in a few simple lines. It's powerful Because who hasn't felt that? That bolt of fear when something suddenly goes wrong. You trip, you fall, something lunges. It's universal, ancient and modern. Whether you're running from a beast or a bad decision, that feeling is the same. These images, they're not just about the moment. They're about what it means to be human, to fear, to run, to survive, and sometimes to laugh. Yeah, laugh. Not all prehistoric art is somber or violent. Some of it's surprisingly funny. In caves across Europe, there are little stick figures, tumbling, slipping, making goofy poses. There's one in particular, a man seemingly falling backwards, arms flailing, that looks like the world's oldest comic strip. Was it meant as humor maybe? Or maybe it was a way to process failure, to lighten the weight of a bad day. Think about it. You screw up a hunt, drop your spear, miss your shot, your friends. They tease you. Maybe someone paints it on the wall to make sure no one ever forgets. It's petty, it's human, it's hilarious. Even 30,000 years ago, we needed to laugh at ourselves. But rock art wasn't just about the outer world animals. Danger's funny moments. Sometimes it reached into the spiritual, into the unknown. In the French cave of Trois Frères, there's a figure known as the sorcerer, part man, part animal, with antlers, tail, and maybe even hooves. He's hidden high up on the cave wall, like he's watching from above. What is he? A god, a spirit, a man in costume. Some believe he represents a shaman, someone in a trance connecting to the animal world, a human trying to become more than human. This idea of transformation, of crossing the boundary between man and beast, shows up all over ancient art, especially in places like the Maltravieso and Altamira caves in Spain and in the Kimberley region of Australia. Hybrid figures, human-animal combinations, creatures that don't quite exist, and yet clearly meant something. To these people, the line between human and animal wasn't solid. It was porous, shiftable. I once spoke with a Lakota elder who told me about a vision quest he went on. He fasted, prayed, and in a dream he saw a great buffalo standing before him. He said it wasn't just an animal, it was a message from his ancestors from the spirit world. That kind of experience, that's what I think these ancient artists were trying to capture. Not just what they saw, but what they felt, what they believed. Because belief isn't just about religion. It's about finding meaning in chaos. It's about connection to nature, to others, to something greater. And the art shows us just how deep that connection went. In Indonesia, in the Layang Bulu Sipong cave, a painting shows several part human, part animal figures hunting a pig-like creature. The scene is dynamic, full of movement. One of the figures holds a rope or spear. Another has a bird's head. To some researchers, this might be the earliest example of a story, a narrative scene, not just a single image. That's huge, because it means we weren't just painting what was around us. We were telling stories, complex ones, with action characters, meaning stories that may have explained the world, or guided behavior, or passed down myths. And that right there is the heartbeat of what makes us human. We don't just experience, we translate. We turn fear into symbols, pain into parables, joy into laughter, belief into visions. We create meaning. Ancient rock art isn't the product of primitive minds. It's the product of brilliant ones. Minds that wrestled with the same questions we do today. Why are we here? What matters? What comes next? When I look at those hybrid figures, the Bison man in Trois Frères, or the wounded shaman in Mulca's cave, I don't see superstition. I see philosophy. I see people trying to understand death, power, spirit, identity, and using the only tools they had, stone, pigment, firelight, and imagination. So what do we do with all this? What do these ancient images carved and painted by firelight actually mean for us today? Here's the truth: rock art isn't just about the past. It's a mirror, one that shows us who we've always been, and maybe who we still are. Let's go back to Blombos, Lascaux, Sulawesi, all those ancient sites. They're thousands of miles apart. They span tens of thousands of years, and yet they all share something profound: the need to express, to tell a story, to make meaning out of chaos, to leave something behind. That's not a coincidence. That's a blueprint, because whether you were a Paleolithic hunter dodging bison or a modern creator uploading your thoughts to YouTube, the instinct is the same. I was here. I saw something. I felt something. I need you to know. And that's the real gift of ancient art. Not the pigments, not the technique, but the message it carries across 40,000 years of silence. You're not alone. Somewhere deep in the past, a person knelt in the dark ground, up red ochre, dipped their fingers in the powder, and pressed their hand to stone. That print, that human hand, is still there. And it says more than words ever could. It says I existed. I mattered. I had something to say. That's the same energy that drives us today. We post, we paint, we write, we speak because we need to connect. Because stories are how we survive, not just physically, but emotionally, culturally, spiritually. Think about how many times you've turned to art, in heartbreak, in celebration, in grief, in hope. Whether it's music, a movie, a journal, a prayer, art is how we reach across the dark and say, do you feel this too? So what would you paint on a cave wall today? Would it be a symbol of struggle, of love, of change? Would it be abstract or deeply personal? I think about that often. There's a cave in Argentina, Cueva de las Manos, the cave of hands. Its walls are covered in hundreds of handprints, not detailed, not fancy, just silhouettes, layer after layer, generation after generation, pressing their hands to stone. It's overwhelming and deeply moving, because it wasn't about being the best artist. It was about being part of something, a tribe, a legacy, a shared voice that says, we are here, we belong. In a way, that's what every comment, every post, every share on social media is, a digital handprint. And maybe we're not so different from the people who stood in that cave 9,000 years ago. So let's flip the lens. What can we learn from them? First, that creativity is our superpower. We've always used it to survive, to cope, to connect. In times of war, famine, isolation, or uncertainty, humans create. Art is a pressure valve, a beacon, a way to process what words can't reach. Second, that beauty and brutality often live side by side. These cave paintings don't shy away from darkness. They show violence, fear, loss, but also grace, wonder, humor. It's not one or the other. It's all of it, just like life. Third, that belief runs deeper than logic. Whether it's a shaman turning into a deer or a modern person lighting a candle in memory of someone lost, we need belief. Not just religion, but ritual, symbols, meaning, things that tether us when the world spins too fast. And finally, that our ancestors weren't primitive. They were pioneers of the mind. They didn't have writing, but they had language. They didn't have screens, but they had vision. They didn't have cities, but they had community. They were us, just in a different costume. Let me leave you with this. There's a cave in Borneo with a painting estimated to be over 40,000 years old. It shows a wild cattle-like creature, carefully outlined in red. Above it, a cluster of hand stencils. No words, no captions. And yet, you feel it. The reverence, the fear, the awe. You can almost hear the hum of the fire, the hush of people watching the silence as someone reaches up and presses their hand against the rock. That moment, that instinct, it's still inside you. When you sing in the car, when you write in your journal, when you dance like no one's watching, when you create something just because it feels right. That's the same spirit. It's not about followers or algorithms or perfection. It's about expression, connection, memory. So if you take one thing from this journey into rock art, let it be this. You have a story to tell, and it matters. You don't need to be an expert or a genius. You just need to be honest. Brave enough to leave your mark, however small, a line, a word, a song, a painting, a post, because every time we choose to create instead of stay silent, we echo those first artists. We carry the fire forward, and that's what being human is all about. So what would your cave painting look like? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit like if this resonated. And don't forget to subscribe because we've got so many more hidden stories to uncover. Thanks for coming on this journey with me. Let's keep exploring the past to understand our present and shape the future together.